Good morning, I'm Cuan. Welcome to Gunrats. Today we're on a beautiful summer's day here on the range, and what I have today is clearly a Sako rifle, but what is in the bag? It almost feels like there's nothing. And I'd like to introduce today something that I believe is really special. This is Sako's very ultimate lightweight hunting rifle, and I think it is absolutely beautiful. There is Sako's Carbonlight, the Model 85 Carbonlight, and what makes it so special is, of course, the carbon stock. A super lightweight rifle designed for hunting, and that is its only intended purpose. Short, lightweight, and they've done everything in their power to keep the weight down, and we're going to go into some detail as to why that is in a moment. So here we have Sako's Model 85, pretty much well known to everybody. It is an 85, it's got an 85 action. We're going to take the gun apart in a moment, the rifle apart in a moment, and have a look at some of the components. The action is quite well known to those that know Sako's, the new Model 85. It's proven itself, it's wonderful, adjustable trigger, we're going to get back to that in a moment. But where they've really done wonders on this rifle is on the short action, which is your 308 6.5 Creedmoor, 20-inch barrel, keeping it nice and compact and light, ending at 16 millimeters on the barrel crown, which means that she tapers quite drastically down to that 16 millimeters on the crown. But if we have a good look at that, they've done it so elegantly, it's still absolutely beautiful. Nice deep fluting in here to reduce weight and obviously to allow the barrel to cool down a little bit quicker. It's available in a multitude of calibers, very popular hunting calibers. So in the short action, it will start all the way from the extra short action, which is your 223s, moving up to 22-250, 6.5 Creedmoor, 308, and then on the longer action, your 30-06s, for example. As soon as you go to a slightly larger action, the barrel extends and lengthens by another 2 inches. So on the short action, for example, on the 6.5 Creedmoor, to keep weight down, 20-inch barrel. 30-06 and related calibers, 22-inch barrel. When you go to the Magnum calibers, like your 7mm Rem mag, your 300 Win mag, the barrel is a length of 24 inches, but it also then comes with a muzzle brake standard from the factory. Also fluted, looks pretty much exactly the same as the rifle in front of you today. So these will start at 223 Remington and go all the way up to 9.3 by 62. The real jewel of this Model 85 from Sako is the stock. It's a carbon fiber stock, and as we know, there are different qualities of carbon fiber. This is top of the line laminated carbon fiber. It's not a shell, it's a solid carbon fiber stock, laminated, and the finished product, which is this beautiful finish that you see over here, is actually a sock that goes over that carbon fiber and gets shrunk onto it. The carbon fiber used on this is used in aerospace. It's used on Formula One racing cars. It really is top of the line. And what's fantastic about that, and what's really pertinent and important, is that it offers exceptional lightweight, but it's still rigid. It will flex, but it will always go back to where it was. It's got memory, and it's very hard to compress. So when you're tightening your stock screws, you don't need pillar beds and pillars in here and that to actually better it nice and properly. And it's that lightweight that's so important. Great for the backpacker, great for the guy that likes to put on a backpack, go into hilly country, mountain country, and go look for that absolute 100% Roland Ward specimen that he's been after. This is a rifle to pack. It's not heavy at all. According to the factory, this rifle should weigh in at about 2.5 kilos. That's excluding the scope, bipods, silencers, moderators, etc. And that is exceptionally light. We will take the stock off in a moment and actually weigh it and see what the stock weighs. But really, it is just absolutely beautiful. Let's strip this rifle down into bare components quickly. All those familiar with Sako will know about this little button here. Depress the button, pull out the bolt. Magazine comes out by pushing it in, pulling this little guy out here. And there's your magazine. 2 screws holding the rifle in the stock. using a Torx head, which I particularly like. Flathead screwdriver heads tend to strip and look ugly after a while. There's no way you can damage these. By the way, if you've got one of these Torx wrenches, please don't use it for loosening, only use it for fastening. That's what it's designed for. So we'll just use this little guy here quickly to loosen there, to loosen here. Let's hold her upside down to keep it together. There's your bottom metal, stock simply comes off, and there's your barreled action. As can be expected from Sako, everything is finished absolutely beautifully. I'm looking at the inletting here, it's absolutely stunning. But the first thing that really smacks you is that this is the jewel of the rifle. This weighs absolutely nothing. It's, oh, that's beautiful. Stainless steel swivel studs, nice little touch. Got a little kitchen variety scale here. I'm just going to use this little empty box so that there's a platform to rest the stock on. Let's just set Tara. There's 0 grams. The wind is blowing a bit, so it's not going to give an exact measurement. I'm getting 515, 540, let's call it 515 grams. That's exceptionally light for a stock that is going to offer you all the positive attributes of an aluminium stock, of a wooden stock, possibly even better, but at a fraction of the weight. And that's what brings down the total weight of this rifle. Absolutely phenomenal. Very nice soft recoil pad. You'll find often with the carbon fiber stocks, the recoil pads are actually glued on, and that's because it's cheap and nasty and it's a shell. This isn't. These are actually screwed in as it should be. I think that's absolutely wonderful. It's got a fantastic texture to it. It's almost like a sort of a paint that they put on. If you're familiar with a rubber bands feel, elastic bands feel, that's the sort of texture that you're getting here. It's nice and smooth, but it's in no way slippery at all. It's pretty grippy actually. Really, really nice. The stock will flex, but you're going to have to put quite a bit of pressure onto it. You can see where the laminates have joined. There is a line running down the center of the stock, but it's been so beautifully finished. Even with a fingernail, you cannot feel it at all. You can see it with the eye, but only marginally so. That's absolutely beautiful. Typical, nothing special about it, run-of-the-mill Sako 85 action, which has proven itself time and time again. Cold hammer-forged barrel. We all know how accurate Sakos are. They're renowned for their accuracy, guaranteed with quality factory ammunition, sub-MOA for 5 rounds, which I think is great. Most manufacturers say 3 rounds. We've discussed the barrel length. This one is a 20-inch barrel, nice and light, compact, and will certainly do the job as a hunting rifle, and that is what this rifle is made for. It's got a 1-in-8 twist. If you're ever uncertain, if you look on the side of the rifle here on the barrel, it says here Sako, the serial number, and then below it the caliber. 6.5 Creedmoor, 8-inch twist, made in Finland. So if you're uncertain about the twist rate, it's always here on the barrel. Sako's triggers are absolutely fantastic. This one is as it came from the factory. We're going to test it in a moment. Stainless steel bolt handle, 3 locking lugs, absolutely fantastic, and a relatively large, I say relatively, extractor. And the Sako extractors have actually proven themselves so well worldwide that they're used to retrofit a lot of very, very popular rifles out there, and I'm not going to mention any names, where the extractors aren't that great. So they take that extractor out, a competent gunsmith retrofits that bolt face with a Sako extractor. That's how good they are. If we look at the trigger, there's a little screw over here. Let me point it out with this Allen key. There's a little screw over here, and you simply screw that clockwise in to make the trigger pull harder, heavier, or you turn it anti-clockwise to turn it out until it butts up with this screw over here. Almost pointless to test it now. From the factory, I can assure you, it will be quite heavy. Let's pop this guy on quickly and have a look. So this is in pounds and ounces. 4 pounds 5.4 ounces. That's very, very heavy, but that's about the maximum. We're going to turn this guy out. Let me clear that. And it's very, very simple. The beauty with this is that you can actually adjust this trigger with the rifle in the stock, unlike the tickers and other rifles for that matter. So if it was in the stock, you'd be going through the mag well, through this little hole, into this Allen key, into this little grub screw over here. This is a 2.5 millimeter Allen key, but it's quite difficult to find it when it's in the stock. So it's much easier to set the trigger when it's out of the stock like this. And as a rule of thumb, I turn it out all the way until it butts up. Let's have a look, just nice and gentle. It butts up onto this nut over here. Also prevents it from moving around. And just let that trigger return spring settle in a little bit. Let's give it a go. And I'm going to guess that that's going to be at about 1 pound 10 ounces, 1 pound 8 ounces, somewhere around about there. Let's have a look. 1 pound 8.1 ounces. Let's do it again. What's really important, 1 pound 8.2 ounces. One more time. What's really important about a hunting trigger, you don't want it too light. If it's cold or you're excited, you might have an AD, accidental discharge, and you don't want that when you're hunting. What's really important though is that it's always consistent, but for me, the most important is that it is crisp, reliable, and safe. 1 pound 9 ounces, let's go for an average, and I get an average of 1 pound 8.5 ounces, which is literally just a tad over 1.5 pounds, which is maybe a bit on the light side. But seeing that I've never ever shot this rifle before, I'm going to leave it there, make sure the safety works, give it a bit of a bump. There is carpeting here, so there's no chance of me hurting anything. Oh, that's just absolutely magnificent. There's your safety. The bolt cannot be manipulated with the safety on. However, by depressing this button, this lever here, you can actually see what happens. It's still safe, but I'll be able to open the bolt, which is quite a nice feature. The same as with the magazines from Sako. You can load them from the top like this, or alternatively, when it's actually in the action, you can load it through the ejection port. Also a nice feature. I like the fact that you've got a spare detachable magazine. You can always keep a spare one in your pocket. While we've got it assembled there, it's an opportunity to actually look at the workmanship that Sako actually puts into their rifles and the pride that goes with it. We don't often see this part of the rifle because it's hidden inside the stock. But I'm looking and I'm looking and I can't find machine marks. It's just absolutely perfect. So the finish that you can see on the outside of your rifle is pretty much the finish that you can expect on the inside of your rifle. There's no shortcuts here, and that's what you're paying for. I mean, even little things like the bottom metal. This is anodized aluminium. It's not stainless steel, and that's once again to keep the weight down. But it's just, you can't find fault with it. It's just beautiful. And this finish that they put on is a satin finish, so it's like a very, very light sandblast on it that reduces reflection, but and is also just aesthetically appealing. It's just absolutely beautiful. On the subject of this rifle, let's have a quick look at the scope and how it's mounted. This is a lone scope. We're going to shoot the rifle today, in fact, for the very, very first time. I've got a target up at 25 meters just to get it onto paper, and then we'll start playing with it at further distances. The rings that are on here are made by Sako. They are called Sako Optilock range, and these are the ring mounts. Now, the ring mounts differ a little bit from the other Optilocks in that it doesn't have a separate base. So the base then fits onto the rifled action, and your ring fits onto the base. This one fits directly, and I've got an example to show you. This is actually a 1-inch ring, but it doesn't matter for intents and purposes here. The base is part of the ring and goes directly onto the rifle's receiver. And the rifle's receiver works with an angled dovetail. So the dovetail actually wedges forward. So when this slides onto that wedge, it actually, when you fasten it, it clamps into the wedge. What's really nice, this is the rear ring. We're going to have a closer look at it in a moment. And it's got a little stop pin here at the back. And that pin goes into a milled recess right here in the back. Nice, unobtrusive little milled indent. That pin goes into that indent, and that's where you're going to fasten it down. So there's no chance of this moving forward. If for some reason you find that your eye box needs to move further forward and this pin is in the way, you need to move this base further forward, you can actually knock it out. There's a hole in the top there. You take a center punch, you can knock it out and not use it at all. The front ring doesn't have that pin. It simply uses that wedge system to clamp into place. And it's a nice solid system, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's clean, it's neat, and it doesn't have pieces relying on the fitment of additional pieces. It goes straight onto the rifled action. Another very nice feature of these ring mount systems from Optilock is that they are machined in a way that there's actually a bit of a dip, a curvature in here, like a little valley. And fitting into that is this little piece of quality plastic that fits neatly into that groove. So this will slip over your scope, fits into that groove, cannot wiggle out. That same recess is on the top ring, that squashes down onto it, and your scope is perfectly secure. But not only is it secure, it's also protected by this nice plastic ring, so you don't do any damage to your scope. We've discussed all these wonderful features of the Sako 85 Carbonlight. Beautiful lightweight hunting rifle. Let's just reassemble her quickly. Nice simple task. Barreled action simply goes into the stock. Can only fit one way. Bottom metal simply slips in here into the recess. And let's get these little Torx head screws, so your stock screws, in position. I really like the Torx head. The Torx head is far superior to a flat head. You need very specialized actual screwdriver tips to fit into the slotted heads so that you don't damage them. And torquing them can also be problematic in that you can damage the heads. I'm using a inch-pound torque wrench here. 45 inch-pounds should be more than adequate. And we're just going to do it backwards and forwards, nice and firm, until I hear that click. There's my click. There's my click. Make sure it hasn't loosened there at all. Click, click. And that is all there is to it. Now we need to get this rifle on paper. We've never fired it before. I'm quite excited about shooting. If I were to design a stock for practical utilitarian hunting purposes, this is the stock I would design. Nothing fancy, no frills, no unnecessary cheek pieces and that. Nice and flat on the bottom of the forend. Accommodates either a shooting bag quite nicely because it's relatively flat, and a bipod fits on absolutely perfect. So today I've got some of the Sako factory ammo, the Gamehead Pro 130 grain. It's proven itself reasonably accurate. Perfect for hunting. And then I've brought some homegrown hand loads with me as well. It's not specifically designed for this rifle. It works in my other Creedmoor that I've got at home. So I think I'm just going to use these to get us onto paper. And as discussed before, the beauty with these Sako rifles, you can literally load it from the top, or alternatively you can take the magazine out, take the magazine box out and load it here. So here goes first shot. First shot ever with the Carbonlight. I'm actually quite excited. Okay, I'm on paper, a little bit low and a little bit to the left, and we'll adjust that. Once we finish this process, we'll try to get it onto paper at 100 meters. We got on paper at 25 meters with some hand loads. Now I'm going to try some factory ammunition at 100 meters. Nice thing about this magazine is you don't have to slip it in from the front. You can simply depress it very much like you would do on a AK-47 AR type magazine. Just load it from the top. 3 rounds. First time ever that we're going to try this rifle at 100 meters. Magnification is set on 12. This is a relatively small scope for exercises like this where we want to achieve the optimum accuracy. We use large target scopes. I didn't want to do that today because I want to stay in the atmosphere of using a lightweight hunting rifle. The nice thing of having a very light rifle is you can put on a slightly heavier scope because you've still got a lightweight rifle. So you still got a light package. Personally, I'd go for something a lot smaller because this would be a backpacking rifle, nice and light. So go light on the suppressor if you can. I personally wouldn't use a suppressor. This is not a culling rifle. This is a hunting rifle. It's that one really important shot that counts. So we've got 3 rounds on here. Let's put on some ears and let's see what we can do at 100 meters. That's just silky smooth. Absolutely wonderful. You saw that extraction. We spoke about the extractor before. The Sako extractors are fantastic. That really felt great. Rifle is comfortable. The recoil impulse is pretty much insignificant with the 6.5 Creedmoor. Recoil pad works beautifully. I love the palm swell. By the way, speaking of the palm swell, this rifle is now available in all those calibers that we mentioned before in left-hand versions too. So I think that's just wonderful. That group, nothing to complain about. Let's go and take a closer look. Those are the first 3 shots. Sako factory ammunition out of the Sako Model 85 Carbonlight. At 25 meters I was round about here. Scope over bore, I can understand she's going to be a little high at 100 meters. Easy to compensate with adjusting the scope. I could not be happier. We've got 3 shots, certainly under MOA, no problem whatsoever. In fact, I'm going to guess that that is without a doubt under half MOA. As a hunting rifle where you really only have to rely on that one accurate shot, this rifle can certainly do it. I could not be more pleased. I think that's absolutely brilliant.